What's up, people? Hope you guys are doing well. This is Stream right now. You know, as the title says, best defensive fighter of all time is. That's an interesting title. That's an interesting title. ESPN tried to claim that Floyd Mayweather is the best defensive fighter of all time. Um, Pernell Whitaker called himself the best defensive fighter of all time. James Toney said he had the best defense. But Pernell Whitaker specifically said, I am the best defensive fighter of all time. James Toney said, I think he wanted the title as well. Best defensive fighter of all time. Now, you can only have one. You can't have two or three. And when we look at great defensive fighters throughout the history of boxing, there are many. All right? Usually the top fighters are defensive fighters. Or at least defensively responsible fighters, right? But this is Pernell Whitaker week as far as I'm concerned. So I'm gonna argue a case why Pernell Whitaker is the best defensive fighter of all time. And it's very interesting what I'm about to say because there's a lot of Pernell Whitaker told us in an interview with can't remember the channel. He told people that he couldn't do the shoulder roll. And he was, of course, he was trained by Georgie Benton, who was like the master of the shoulder roll. But strangely, he couldn't do the shoulder roll. He told me that style just didn't work for him. So what he had to do was swivel away from punches and move, block, dodge punches, that kind of stuff. All right, so candidates for the best defensive fighter of all time. I'm going to talk about that. And then I'm going to tell you why I actually believe Pernell Whitaker is the best defensive fighter of all time. Just want to lift this camera a bit so that when I talk, you'll actually talk with. All right, so still not the best. What's the problem with these things? 1 second. Shit. Accidentally hit something and that'll be trouble. Telephones. The telephone. Always been one of the toughest things in the world for me to deal with. Ah, there you go. Now don't fall. Alright, yeah. Put these documents over here. Alright. So he said he's the best defensive fighter of all time. That's what Pernell Whitaker believed. And he called himself that. Let's get into why he is right. First of all, candidates for the best defensive fighter of all time. ESPN mentioned Floyd Mayweather. James Toney called himself the best defensive fighter of all time. You gotta mention names such as Andre fucking Ward. Right? For longevity, Bernard Hopkins. Vasily Lomachenko's still there. His career's still going on, so we won't include him. Excuse me. We won't include any of the current guys. It's almost 12 o'clock. I haven't eaten yet, so that's gonna bite me. All right, so we're looking at guys whose careers are over, right? So we have Roy Jones Jr. We have James Toney, Mike McCallum, Winky Wright. See if I can find some others. I'm just gonna pull up a listing here. Hold on 1 second. Because they always mention Willie Pep, but there was others. There was Willie Pep, Georgie Benton, Charlie Burley, Ralph Tiger Jones, Tiger Flowers, Gene Tunney. I mean, there was a lot. There was a lot, all right? Come on, come on. So I'm going to pull down a list of some of the defensive boxers out there. But you know, the first set of names, when you talk about defensive boxers that come up, is Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker's name is the first one. Then you'll see Floyd Mayweather Jr., James Toney, Guillermo Rigondeaux, Vasily Lomachenko. You know, but Rigondeaux and Lomachenko, their career is still going on. Benny Leonard was another one. Yep. Correct. Jackson the Hopeful, shout out to you, my brother. You always on my feed. That's cool. Here on Google, they have the top 5 greatest defensive boxers of all time. They got Pernell Whitaker at number 1, Mayweather at number 2, James Light Toney at number 3, Guillermo El Chacal Rigondeaux and Vasily Lomachenko at number 5. Okay. So here's just a listing, a random listing of defensive fighters. There's a lot. There's a lot. You know, the original Kid Chocolate. I mean, there's a lot. So you have Sam Langford. You know, you got Roberto Duran. But Langford wasn't the only one. You had Harry Wills. I mean, there was a whole bunch of them, right? Usually black fighters were defensive fighters. Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, Stanley Ketchel. They have Jack Dempsey in there. I never really rate Jack Dempsey as a defensive fighter. I mean, Gene Tunney just did piece his ass up. Never really thought of him as great with defense. He did go from low to high, but that's like saying Marcus Maidana is a great defensive fighter, or like saying Mike Tyson was a pretty good defensive fighter. I mean, the bob and weave style, the peekaboo defense. They say Marco Antonio Barrera was a great defensive fighter. I don't really think of those guys like that. Joe Louis was a great defensive fighter. They said Winky Wright definitely. When I'm thinking defense, I'm thinking they not even getting touched. You know, Rocky Marciano was not a fucking great defensive fighter. Roberto Duran was not a great defensive fighter. Julio Cesar Chavez was not a great. They got tagged too much and flush. You know what I'm saying? I don't think of those guys like that. They had defense, but I don't think of them as great defensive fighters. Benny Leonard, on the other hand, yeah, definitely. They called him the Ghetto Wizard for a reason. Henry Armstrong, they said, was a great. I never thought of Henry Armstrong as a great defensive fighter. Yeah, I know he was an inside fighter. I know he was a swarm and stuff, but he used to get punched. Armstrong used to get hit. You know what I'm saying? So it depends. You know, they say Manny Pacquiao too. Of later on in his career, he was much more of a defensive fighter than, say, in the middle of his career, particularly. Jack Johnson was a motherfucking defensive fighter. Yeah, it's a great one. Or Jones Jr. Joe Calzaghe, a great defensive fighter. I mean, he was busy. They say he was, but I didn't really see. I never thought of Calzaghe as a slick fighter, to be honest with you. He had a lot of. When I'm talking about great defensive fighter, I'm talking about slick. Like the motherfucker could stand in front of you and not throw a fucking punch, and you're still not gonna hit him, right? So that's what I mean by great defensive. Maybe I need to clarify. So like for instance, Andre Ward. Fucking slick, you know what I'm saying? James Toney, you be throwing a whole set of punches at James Toney, you get nothing but air, you know what I'm saying? And then he tag your ass after all of that. That's what I mean by great defensive fighter. So I'm not talking about somebody whose offense is their defense. That's not a great defensive fighter, right? I hit you before you hit me. Now I'm talking about a great defensive fighter is someone who is slick, like you can't hit them. Like even if they're not throwing anything at you, you can't hit them. That's what I mean by a great defensive fighter. Don't forget to smash the like button. If you guys like what you're seeing, smash the like button, please. All right. So Gene Tunney was slick. You know what I'm saying? He was a slickster. Hopkins was slickish. He was slickish. He's borderline. Wilfredo Benitez was a great defensive fighter. You could be throwing a whole set of punches, and Benitez would just, roll it or bounce it or, slip it, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? You see, you're saying great defensive fighter, not just defensive fighter, but great. You know, Juan Manuel Marquez wasn't. I never really considered him a great defensive fighter. You know, you don't think of Marquez as slick. You know what I mean? Sugar Ray Leonard was solid, man. He was a solid defensive fighter. His thing was for you to, you know, chase him around the ring and then he counterpunch your ass and stuff. Ali definitely was. Sugar Ray Robinson was considered a great defensive fighter. Oh man. All right. So let's talk about who gets the title greatest defensive fighter of all time. All right. Now James Toney. Let me be specific about James Toney's claim. What James Toney actually said. All right. They got Willie Peppers #1 in this little thing here. There were many great defensive fighters. All right. But the greatest. Why do I say Pernell Whitaker was the best defensive fighter of all time? Best, not greatest, but best. All right, so let me show you guys something first. I got multiple reasons why I got Pernell Whitaker. Okay. To do that, what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna compare him to some of the guys who call themselves the best defensive fighters. I'm gonna compare him to, because there's another guy who said. Actually, there's a guy who called himself not the best defensive fighter. Marlon Starling. He don't call himself the best defensive fighter. He called himself the best ever. So Marlon Starling called himself the best ever. He obviously is not the best ever, but he was a really good fighter. All right, Marlon Starling. I know some of you guys don't know who I'm talking about. That's all good. He was right after Sugar Ray Leonard's time. So I want to show you guys something, because I always believe that to show that a guy's really the best at what he does, there are a couple criteria. One is his skill set, obviously, what he could do compared to what another guy could do. But obviously, he had to test that skill set against something to prove that that skill set was legit. And that would be that he would be testing against opposition. So you got to look at the opposition the guy did. And my argument is, if I am able to face similar or better opposition than you did in less fights, it means I was fighting back-to-back tougher fights in my fucking career. Which means not only am I showing my skills, but I'm also at the same time showing that I could have tough back-to-back fights. I mean matched tough. And that's something that shows how good I am. Because whereas somebody else, they match tough and then they need to have a stay busy fight or easy fight after, I went in hardcore straight through. So that's another very important point you got to look at. It's not just how many top tier people I fought in my career, but did I fight back to back tough competition? You see what I'm saying? Because one of the things that I notice is, you know, especially throwback fighters, they had tough competition, then they're going to have a stay busy, easy fight after, and another easy fight after. And yeah, they fight more regular, but they having easy fights in between. You get what I'm saying? Keep themselves sharp. Whereas I think somebody who is not even having stay busy fights in between, but they got one tough fight here, and maybe 6 months after they got another tough fight here, shows that they don't need to stay busy to stay sharp. They have other mechanisms they do it, which shows other qualities in them. So I'm going to look at that person and actually put them a tier higher than a guy who's staying busy, or a guy who fought, say, the same level of competition or less with more fights. All right? So that's one of the things I look at. Of course, if you're fighting top tier competition and you're beating them, whether it's everybody saw you beat them, or it is that you know, literally beat them, then that also points to just your skill level, how good you are. And not just skill level. Of course, you can have an array of skills, but you ain't good in none of them. You know what I'm saying? You may be able to do multiple things, but you're just okay in each of them, or you're exceptional in each area. That's a totally different thing. Now, the other thing, like I said before, is you got to look at the boxer themselves. Well, is this a boxer that could bang? And he could box. He could pressure. He could box off the back foot. He could box off the front foot. He could box on the outside. He could box mid-range. He could box on the inside. He could walk you down. He could have you come and set traps and have you come after him. He pivot around the ring and make you go around in circles. He make you follow him. Guy that you may be a professional guy, cut off the ring, but with this guy, you can't cut him off. You know, all of these different things are important. He could cut off the ring, you know, if he was hunting down somebody. So you have to look at all the skills that is necessary and see this person is an all-round boxer, and if he's really good, exceptionally good in each of the areas. Because, you know, these are all important things as well. Now, obviously, having an array of skills but not honing them don't make you great, right? Because you probably get beat. But then there's some people who the combination of skills is good in all areas so nicely that all around, when you put the package together, they're really good boxers. Like take, for instance, Timothy Bradley. Now, great defensive fighter. Defense means, what does defense mean? Defense means if I have a good defense, you can't hit me. If I have a good defense, it's very difficult to hit me. And there are many different ways for a person not to hit you. Okay? One of them is with a good offense. That's true. So they can't hit you. The other way is where you're blocking punches. The other way is getting out of the way of punches. Whether it's slipping, rolling, dipping, swiveling, you know, parrying, whatever. Right? The other way is by you keeping your opponent off balance through feinting. All right? So there's all of that shit. All right? Okay, so, okay, there you go. So, we're going to look at, first of all, level of competition. And when I talk about level of competition, we're going to look at it in the context of, look at it in the concept of the person's career and how what kind of competition they face, who was their opposition, who they fought, who they beat, in other words. And on top of that, we're going to look at the conditions under which these people fought these people and beat them. On top of that, we're going to look at how many of the fights they had, how compact it was, how much back-to-back high-level competition they faced. All right? Because what I'm about to show you about Pernell Whitaker is very, very rare. All right? He was one of those rare fighters. He and Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather. These were rare boxers because what the level of competition these guys faced in there from day one, not with Floyd, but mostly with Oscar and Pernell Whitaker. From day one, these guys were facing tough competition. Sets them apart from a lot of other people in a lot of other eras. All right? All right, so, but there were some guys in some eras who could compare. So this is just resume right now we're talking. All right, that's fine. So let me, I have to log into BoxRec for a minute. I know some of you are like, man, you're the BoxRec king. you always up in BoxRec. Well, it's there. The records are there, so why not use it? Not all the records are accurate, but all right. So we're gonna look at James Toney. I'm gonna show you all something. I can't remember the specific wording that James Toney said about himself, though. I don't know if he said he was the best defensive fighter ever, or if he was the greatest defensive fighter. I can't remember what he said. James Nathaniel Toney. James Lights Out Toney. All right. All right. James Toney had a really extensive career and a really fantastic career. Okay? Very fantastic career. James Toney had 92 fights. 92 fucking fights. All right? So, we got a lot to talk about. Let's start. James Toney started off in 1988. His first fight was against a guy called Stephen Lee with 8 fights. Had a losing record, so it was 2 losses, 2 wins, 6 losses. He started off at middleweight, and he stopped him. His first really significant fight, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fights in. So in his 13th fight, he fought a guy called Run Admundsen. Okay, Run Admundsen. It was a 10-rounder. And in 1989, this guy, his record was 16-2-1. He had 19 fights, so it's kind of comparable. This is his. What did I say? What fight was this? 16 or something? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's 13 fights. So in his 13th fight, he fought a guy with 19 fights. And, yeah, he beat the guy. He outboxed him. He got a decision over him. Right? A unanimous decision. And then after that, he fought a couple cab drivers with a lot of experience. And then in his, what looks like to me, his 16th fight, he faced a guy called Philip Moorfield for the USA Michigan State middleweight title. He had 20, what looks like 23 fights. So in the 16th fight, he fought a guy with 23 fights. All right. So able to stop him in the first round. And then in his 19th or 20th fight, he faced a guy with 11 fights. Okay, anyway, he went on to face Ricardo Bryant for the IBC middleweight title in 1990. Okay, Ricardo Bryant had experience as a professional boxer. He had 26 fights, 15 wins, 11 losses. He stopped him, and then he drew with a guy called Sandaline Williams. I don't know if that was an official draw or what. He was fighting at the super middleweight division. Sandaline Williams had 24 fights, 11 losses, basically 35 fights in all. Faced Kevin Brazier. He rematched Sandaline Williams and got a unanimous decision win over him. He faced the debutant in Carlos Silva. He defended the IBC middleweight title, facing Marquis Sosa, who had 18 fights, was undefeated, got a split decision win over him. Okay, and he knocked him down in round 3, and Sosa had a point deducted in round 10. Somehow he got a split decision win. I don't know if Sosa was giving him the work or what. Now, to fight for the IBF middleweight championship, he faced Michael Nunn, undefeated Michael Nunn, and he was able to stop Michael. He was losing the fight. Michael Nunn was outboxing his ass. Michael Nunn was ahead 97-93 on 99-91 and 98-92. So Michael Nunn was totally dominating the fight, and he was able to knock out Michael Nunn in the 11th round, pull countering him, and took him out. So that was his first championship fight, and Michael Nunn was defeated. Undefeated Michael Nunn. He pulled the win out of his ass and was able to defeat Michael Nunn. Went on to defend the IBF title against Reggie Johnson. Reggie Johnson knocking his ass down in the 2nd round, and he got a split decision win over Reggie Johnson. It was a tough fight, and we argue Reggie Johnson. Some people argue that Reggie Johnson beat his ass. Reggie Johnson beat his ass, right? It is what it is. Then he went on to face Francisco Deli Aquila, defending his title. He was able to stop him in round 4. Then he faced Mike fucking McCallum in what was a very close fight. It was called a split decision draw, but you could have given it to McCallum. I thought McCallum beat him as well. And he defended again successfully the IBF title yet again. Went on to face Dave Tabiri, and he got a split decision win over his ass as well. Tabiri got deducted for a low blow in round 6. So he had some close fights early on in his career. And I don't know if Tabiri beat him or not, but I'll say he scraped that one by. And then he faced Glenn Wolf. So he defended successfully the title a number of times. Then he faced Ricky Stackhouse, who you know was a dude that used to get beat by everybody. And he knocked his ass out. And then he rematched Mike McCallum and got a majority decision win over Mike McCallum. Okay? One judge scored it a draw, 114-114. The other two judges had it wide for James Toney. So he successfully defended his title a number of times. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then he faced Aaron Barkley. This would be the 7th defense. And he was able to retire fucking Aaron Barkley. I mean, he really beat his ass up. He went up to super middleweight and beat Aaron Barkley's ass to take the title from him. Right? So far in his career, he faced guys like Mike McCallum, Aaron fucking Barkley, Reggie Johnson, and Michael Nunn. Alright? That's 4. 4 Hall of Famers. Well, not 4 Hall of Famers, 3 Hall of Famers. He then goes on to face Ricky Thomas, Governor Chafers, Glenn Thomas, Danny Garcia, Larry Bratner, Tony Thornton, Anthony Hembrick. He defends the super middleweight title against Tony Thornton. All the others are stay busy fights. They were all at 175. So all of those other fights were stay busy fights. Then at super middleweight, where the fuck am I? At super middleweight, he faces Anthony Hembrick. All of these are stay busy fights. Then he faces Tom Littles, defending the 168 title. Then he goes on to do a couple more stay busy fights. Vincent Durham. Then he goes on to face Charles Williams, defending his title again, knocking his ass out in the 12th round. Then he faces Roy Jones Jr. At super middleweight, and Roy Jones Jr. beats his ass, knocking him down in the 3rd round to take the IBF super middleweight title from him. Alright? Now he faces, therefore, Roy Jones Jr., Charles fucking Aaron Barkley, I said Charles Barkley. That makes us the 6 Hall of Famers. He then faces Montel Griffin and loses to Montel Griffin by majority decision. So one judge ruled it a draw, one judge ruled it 5-3, 113-115, another ruled it 8-4, 112-16. Montel Griffin beat him. And then he goes on to face Carl Willis, which is a stay busy fight, and then he faces Anthony Hembrick for the USBA light heavyweight title, so he goes up to light heavyweight. And in that fight, he retires the dude. Then he faces a guy named Freddie Delgado for the WBU light heavyweight title. He gets it, knocking his ass out. Then he faces Ernest Mateen, and through disqualification, he beats him. He then faces Greg Everett for the WBU Continental Cruiserweight title, so he goes up to Cruiserweight next. Wins a paper champion title at Cruiserweight. This motherfucker just was doing it though. Faced Richard Mason in a stay busy fight. Then he faced Earl Buckler to defend the title, and he did. Then he faced Charles Oliver, another stay busy fight. Then he goes on to face Duran Williams and defends his title successfully. He rematches Montel Griffin at the WBU, and Montel Griffin beats his ass. So at light heavyweight, Montel Griffin still beats him. Rematches Mike McCallum, and it's an old Mike McCallum, and he beats him outright. Then he faces a guy named Drake Fadzi. He was fighting for the IBO light heavyweight title, and Thadzi beats him by majority decision. The score is 114, 114 by one judge, 113, 116, which is 8-4, and 112, 116, which is 8-4. He came in overweight for that fight. Then he faces Steve Little. He was out of shape, in other words. He faced Steve Little again, this time for the IBO World Cruiserweight title, and he beats him. Then he faces Terry Porter, which is a stay busy fight. Then he faces Adolfo Washington. He stopped the fight. The fight is stopped because the dude is bleeding from his nose. He has three more stay busy fights. Ramon Garby, Terry McGroom, Courtney Butler, and then he goes on to face Saul Montana for the vacant IBA Super Cruiserweight title. So something called Super Cruiserweight. I didn't know about that. It stops him in 2 rounds. Faces Wesley Martin, which is another stay busy fight. Sion Asipelli, which is another stay busy fight. Michael Rush, another stay busy fight. Faces Jason Robinson for the IBF Cruiserweight title eliminator. Beats him, knocks him out. Then he faces Vasily Girov for the IBF Cruiserweight title. And he beats him to become the IBF Cruiserweight champion. Alright, so now he's Cruiserweight champion. Then add that to his titles. So middleweight, super middleweight, now Cruiserweight. He has won. He didn't have a light heavyweight title. Let's check it. No, he never had a light heavyweight title. Okay, cool. Alright, so keeping it moving. After that, after winning that title, he moves up to heavyweight and he beats Evander Holyfield. This is his seventh known name and sure Hall of Famer and all-time great. He beats him, knocking him out in the 9th round. He also faced Vasily Girov, so that's a world champion. You gotta include that in there. So that's 10 good names. And then he faces Rydell Broca for the IBA World Heavyweight title and the vacant WBC Continental Americas Heavyweight title. And he beats Rydell Booker, who was undefeated unanimously. He then faces John Ruiz, who at the time was the IBA World Heavyweight and the WBA Heavyweight Champion. He beats John Ruiz, but because he tested positive for a banned steroid, they did not give him the win. He knocked down Ruiz in the 7th round. So that's too bad on him. He tested positive for a drug. He then went on to face Dominic Guin for the IBA World Heavyweight title. He won that paper champion title. So he actually has the title at heavyweight as well. Then went on to face Rasim Rahman, and he got a majority decision draw against Rahman. So he never got to get the WBC or WBA or IBF heavyweight championship titles. Many people thought he was robbed against Rahman, but it is what it is. Because one judge had it 111, 117 for James Toney. No, actually for Rahman. Well, whatever. He then goes on to face Samuel Peter, and Samuel Peter's a guy that beats him twice. Samuel Peter's style continuously beats him. First, Samuel Peter beat him by split decision, taking away the IBA title from him. And Samuel Peter beats him again in the rematch, and even more comprehensively. Then he goes on to face Danny Batchelder and gets a split decision win over him. Then faces Hasim Rahman again. And he stops Rasim Rahman in the 3rd round, but it's overturned after the WBO charges him. The California State Athletic Commission changes it. It seems as though he tested positive for drugs again. He then faced Quez Oqueno for the IBA World Heavyweight title and the WBO NABO Heavyweight title. And he won by split decision. The reason because Oqueno lost a point in the 8th round for a rabbit punch. So it's fucked up. That's what it is. It would have been a draw otherwise. Then faced Stay Busy fight, Matthew Greer, then Damon Reed He faced him, which is a credible opponent. Faced Denis Lebedev, who beat him to get the IBA Cruiserweight title, so he went back down to Cruiserweight. Faced Bubby Gunn, who was a good light heavyweight guy. He faced Bubby Gunn at heavyweight, was able to stop him. Bubby Gunn was a world champion, so you got to include him. Lucas Brown beat, then went back and beat him for the WBA World Heavyweight title. Lucas Brown beat him. Kenny Lemos was a stay busy fight. Jason Garvin was supposed to be a stay busy fight. He lost to Jason Garvin. How the fuck you lose to Jason Garvin? I don't know, but he did. And then he faced Matt Legg. This is in some sort of tournament, so he had to face this dude. So it's not a stay busy fight per se. And he stopped him. It was a 3-round. Jason Garvin, believe it or not, was a 3-round as well. That's fucked up. And then he goes on to face Charles Ellis and finishes off his career facing Mike Shepard, defeating Mike Shepard to win the WBF World Heavyweight title. Okay, so that's his career. So he had 90-something fights. He fought 7 or 8 credible guys, 7 Hall of Famers, or all-time greats, okay, if you want to call it that, but Hall of Famers for sure. And he had 92 fights. All right, lots of stay busy fights in between, but he was a hell of a fighter. All right, now let's look at fucking Pernell Whitaker. And this is why James Toney's claim is that he's the greatest defensive fighter or best defensive fighter of all time. That's his claim. He does have a lot of evidence to back that up, it seems. But let's look resume-wise at fucking Pernell Whitaker's resume, which is a whole other stratosphere to James Toney's. And almost all the losses Pernell Whitaker had, barring the last 2, which would be against Tito Trinidad and then the Mexican dude who beat him, but it didn't really beat him. His clavicle was broken, so he had to stop the fight. Let's look at that, all right? By the way, Pernell called himself Sweet Pea, but it was supposed to be Sweet Letter P. His name was supposed to be Sweet Letter P, but what happened in the end is people mispronounced his name, so that's Sweet, and they called it P-E-A, and that's how that stayed. All right, Pernell Whitaker. Okay. Oh, we got people talking in the chat, and I don't even know that. So Jackson the Hopeful, we talked about Gene, Tony, Benny Leonard, Wilfredo Benitez, Juan Manuel Marquez. Man, Marquez was good, but he wasn't the best defense. He wasn't a great defensive fighter. I wouldn't call him a. You know who was a great defensive fighter? El Finito Lopez. Hardly touched him. Get this smoke. Peace to all. Exactly. P. Yeah, man. You came through. It's nice to meet. Nice to see you here, man. Get this smoke. Jackson Hopeful. It was actually Sweet Pete, not Sweet P originally. Oh, okay. Cool. Sweet Pete. Pete. Interesting. Well, Pernell told us, if you go and look at the interview, he said he was really trying to be Sweet P. Sweet P. P for Pernell. Because, you know, he don't have a... Alright, so let's look at Pernell Whitaker's resume. We're only looking at resume now. Alright? Alright, so Pernell Whitaker, his first fight was against an undefeated guy named Ferain Camot. I guess that's a French name. And this guy was undefeated for 11 fights. So the guy had, you know, he was coming in with confidence and shit against Pernell. And Pernell knocked his ass out in 2 rounds. And his first fucking fight was a 6-rounder. Fuck 4 rounds. Fuck 3 rounds. 6-rounder. And then because he was a Olympian, he was an Olympian medalist, right? Gold medalist at that. So they're going to match him tough. So that's how that began. All right, so his first serious fight was in his first fucking fight. In his fourth fight, he was fighting a guy with 18 fucking fights. Okay, 13, 4, and 1. His sixth fight, he was fighting a guy with 23 fights, 21, 1, and 1. All right, I don't need to go on about that, right? You know, 7, 8. It's 8 fucking fight. He was fighting a guy with 32 fights, John Montez. All right. So this motherfucker was matched tough from the get-go. So James Toney didn't have that, right? James Toney was matched good, but not like that. He then faced Raphael Williams in 1986, a guy with 26 fights, and he was in his, I'll tell you what, 9th fight. So in his 9th fight, he's facing this guy, Raphael Williams. It was a 10-rounder, so he started facing, in his 7th fight, he started fighting 10-rounders. Okay, his 6th fight, he was fighting an 8-rounder, and they fast-tracked his ass really quickly, and he was fighting 10-rounders from his 7th fight. So by his 10th fight, he was facing a guy named Raphael Williams, who knocked his ass down in the 4th round. Okay, he dominated this fucking shit. Besides that round, I don't think that guy won another round. So they had it 8-2, 8-2, 9-1. They were just counting rounds in this case, it seems. So Pernell Whitaker won every single other round other than that. In his 10th fight, he faced Rafael Ganadarilla, who had 32 fights as well. His record was a little bit, more softer record that Pernell would face. 16, 15, and 1, so he was like a journeyman. Able to get a unanimous decision win over him. But they said that unofficially he seemed to have had more fights than that. So they say his record was reportedly 55, 16, and 3, which shows that he had over 70 fights. Over 70 fights, about 74 fights. Okay. This is what they were saying, but this is what we got here on the record, so I don't know. He then faced Alfredo Lane, who had 20 fights. This was his 11th fight. 20 fights, 14, 6, and 0. And again, he got knocked down by Alfredo Lane. All right, and this is all at lightweight. And after that, he faced Roger Mayweather in his 12th fucking fight, where Roger Mayweather had 30 fights in. He faced Roger Mayweather for the NABF lightweight title. And fucking Roger Mayweather, was a beast. He was known as the Black Mamba, Show Ballot Hall of Famer, and all of that shit that goes along with it. And the thing about it is, this is what was happening. This was happening with Roger Mayweather, okay? So Roger Mayweather, yeah. Okay. Roger Mayweather was coming off of this. He was coming off of losing to Freddie Pendleton. Freddie Pendleton knocked his ass out. Okay. And then he went on to beat Sammy Fuentes. He beat Sammy Fuentes' ass. And for those people who don't know who Sammy Fuentes is, I'll tell you who Sammy Fuentes is. I remember that when he stopped Sammy Fuentes. Sammy Fuentes was a Puerto Rican fighter, first of all. And Sammy Fuentes beat the great Hector Lopez. Alright, this was after he had faced Roger Mayweather. He beat the great Hector Lopez to become the WBO super lightweight champion. Hector Lopez was probably, that's a whole other story for another day. And he also was trying to find. Hold on. Where is it? He had a win over Edwin Rodriguez. That's not the guy. Well, anyway, I was looking for somebody else that he. Anyway, he had knocked out Sammy Fuentes. That's the important thing, right? Anyway, he knocked out Sammy Fuentes, right? Roger Mayweather. So he was coming off of that victory, and there was bad blood between Pernell Whitaker and Roger Mayweather, and that blood it transferred into the ring. So what happened in that fight was an epic fight where Pernell Whitaker knocked down Roger Mayweather in the first round, and then Roger Mayweather really knocked down Pernell Whitaker in the ninth. And, you know, people thought Roger was going to finish off Pernell Whitaker, and Pernell Whitaker came back, got his composure. By the 10th, 11th, 12th, he got back control of the fight. So at the end of the day, he won the fight. In some judges' scorecards, it was 8-4. Some judges' scorecards, it was 9-3. Okay? But he won the fight against Roger Mayweather. It was a fucking exciting fight. And one of his really, really, really stratospheric, exciting fights that he had. Alright? Anyway, so that was his 12th fight. And that was Shore Ballot Hall of Famer he faced. He then had a Stay Busy fight with Jimmy Flores. And then he went on to defend that NABF lightweight title and USBA lightweight title against Miguel Santana. He had another Stay Busy fight against a guy called Davey Montana. And then he faced a championship. He had the first championship fight against Jose Luis Ramirez, another legend in the sport of boxing. That's 2. And he was able to, he lost to Jose Luis Ramirez, but we argue he actually won that fight. Jose Luis Ramirez had 106 fights at that point in time. After losing, he had a Stay Busy fight against Antonio Carter. And then he faced the IBF champion at the time, Greg Hogan. Okay? I gotta tell you about Greg Hogan. Hold up. Greg Hogan. Where we at? Alright. Greg Hogan had beaten guys like Freddie Roach. He beaten guys. He had a win over Vinny Pazienza. That's how he got the IBF World Lightweight title, by beating Vinny Pazienza. At the time. So he then faced Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker beat him. Vinny Pazienza was the guy that beat Greg Hogan to give him his first loss. And then Greg Hogan went on to face Hector Camacho, and he has a win over Hector Camacho as well at super lightweight. Hector Camacho will come back, fight him, and get a decision over him. He also has a win over Boom Boom Mancini, who was 2-time lightweight and super lightweight champion. So he has a win over him. He lost to Julio Cesar Chavez in 1993. He got knocked out in the 5th round. And he also lost to Tony the Tiger Lopez. He also has a loss against him. Yeah. That's basically Greg Hogan's career. So, Pernell Whitaker also had a win over Greg Hogan, another notable champion. And then he defended his title against Louis Lamelli, who was an undefeated guy. Got his sweet revenge by beating Jose Luis Ramirez. Alright. Had one Stay Busy fight against Martin Gallivan. Then he faced Freddie Pendleton. Was able to successfully defend his title against Freddie Pendleton, beating him. He would go on to face Azuma Nelson and successfully defend his title against Azuma Nelson. And then finally, he finished off his career facing Juan Nazario. Juan Nazario was a good fighter. He wasn't. Juan Nazario actually was, I believe, the WBA champion. And what's interesting about Juan Nazario is he had some wins over some notable names in the sport of boxing. Juan Nazario, he had a win over actually Edwin Rosario, who was also from Puerto Rico, beat him to get to defend his WBA lightweight championship title. So he stopped Edwin Rosario in the 8th, and Edwin Rosario stopped him, Juan Nazario, in the 8th round. So he had faced Edwin Rosario, but he got sweet revenge over him, stopping Edwin Rosario in the 8th round when they rematched each other. So there was a rematch. I was able to stop him. So he had a win over Edwin Rosario at the time. He faced Pernell Whitaker, and Pernell Whitaker knocked out his ass in the 1st round to take the WBA title. Yeah. It's a good Puerto Rican fighter, Juan Nazario. Anyways, after he unified the titles, he had 2 defenses. He had a defense against Anthony Jones and Paulie Diaz. Sorry, my bad. He had 3 defenses successfully. It was against Anthony Jones, Paulie Diaz, and Jorge Paez. Jorge Paez was a former world champion as well in the lighter weight divisions. And then he went up in weight, faced a guy called Harold Brazier. So he was at super lightweight. And Jerry Smith, 2 stay busy fights, I would say, before he faced Rafael Pineda for the IBF super lightweight title. He beat him. And then he had a stay busy fight, and then he faced James Buddy McGirt. So he jumped up from super lightweight immediately to welterweight. Faced James Buddy McGirt to win the WBC welterweight title. And then he faced, after that, Julio Cesar Chavez for the WBC World Welterweight, to defend his WBC World Welterweight title. They added a draw. One person added for Pernell Whitaker was 115-113, and the other 2 judges added 115-115. That clearly Pernell Whitaker won that fight. He then defended his title against Carlos Cardona, and then rematched James Buddy McGirt, where he comprehensively beat his ass. Then went up to super welterweight and faced Julio Cesar Vasquez and defeated him. Came back down to welterweight and defended his title against Gary Jacobs, Jake Rodriguez, Wilfredo Rivera. It was a close fight with Wilfredo Rivera the first time, undefeated Wilfredo Rivera. So they rematched again a second time. And Wilfredo Rivera was another Puerto Rican fighter who had faced names such as Lonnie Smith, who was a world champion, and he had a win over Lonnie Smith. And then he also faced Livingston Bramble, and he got a win over Livingston Bramble. Faced Oscar De La Hoya. He had a win over Carlos Palomino, so he was a good fighter. Angel Hernandez. He lost to Shane Mosley. Faced Fernando Vargas. Was knocked out by Fernando Vargas and Mosley. And that's basically it. So he was a good fighter, right? He was a good fighter. So he was able to face Wilfredo Rivera, got a split decision win over him, rematched him to declare the controversy, and beat his ass comprehensively. Then he faced Disablaze Hurtado, who was also a world champion in the lower weight divisions, and he stopped Disablaze Hurtado in the 11th round of their fight. And then his final defense at welterweight championship was against Oscar De La Hoya, which we argue he beat. So, you know, if you notice, Pernell Whitaker having all of these Hall of Famers and all-time greats that he's facing, I'm going to go through them again afterwards. He then faced Andrei Pestraev. He was originally announced the winner against Andrei Pestraev, but the result later changed to no decision after Whitaker tested positive for cocaine. So he had actually beaten the guy, but he tested positive for cocaine. he later faced Felix Trinidad 2 years later. Actually, he was banned, I guess, from boxing for a while, and 2 years later he faced Felix Trinidad without his cocaine. And I'm just joking. And Felix Trinidad beat him fair and square. He beat him, and then he faced Carlos Bojorquez, and the fight had to be stopped in the 4th round. Okay, and that was basically his career. He only had 46 fights, but check this out. In the 46 fights, he faced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Hold on a second. 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He faced 14 world champions. Hold on, I think 14 world champions. 15 world champions. My bad. 15 world champions. He faced 15 world champions. Okay? And let me see how many Hall of Famers he faced. Sure ballot Hall of Famers. He faced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He faced 6 sure ballot Hall of Famers. Right? And my point being, this is only in 46 fights. James Toney took 52 fights to face 7 sure ballot Hall of Famers, or all-time greats, and, about 8 or 9 world champions. All right? So Pernell Whitaker, when you look at his resume, he did a lot more in less fights than James Toney. You understand what I'm saying? He did get caught for using drugs. James Toney's, like in his career, also got caught for using drugs. But James Toney was using steroids. But the point is that, Pernell Whitaker, when you look at his career, Pernell Whitaker didn't get beat by nobodies like James Toney did. And the other thing about it is that Pernell Whitaker was not a guy who had all this bunch of fights. He was matched tough from the get-go. He had a couple stay busy fights in between his championship fights, but for the most part, when you look at his career, that's why he had so many champions and so many Hall of Famers within that small set of fights. It's because Pernell Whitaker was a guy who was fighting back to back, much more tougher fights than, say, James Toney was doing. Right? It's just the point I was trying to make. Well, we won't even talk about Willie Pep. Willie Pep fought 100-something fights, and he had stay busy fights in between his fights. It's just what it was. So when you look at resume wise, I think Pernell Whitaker gets the nod over James Toney in terms of being called the best defensive fighter ever. Resume wise, I think he fought tougher competition back to back versus what James Toney was doing, right? Then we have to look at, of course, James Toney did multiple weight classes as well. He went through 4 weight classes with titles, even though paper champion titles. Pernell Whitaker went through 4 weight classes as well, He started off lightweight, then super lightweight, then welterweight, and then he went to super welterweight, fighting legitimate champions. But he had more belts as well, legitimate titles, right? James Toney, he got disqualified from some of those legitimate championships, unfortunately for him, even though he won those championships pretty much. Again, because of his drug use. Alright, and then you can look at Charlie Burley. You can look at, you know, a number of other guys if you want to. Mike McCallum, etc. But I think when you look at Pernell Whitaker's resume, that's as compact as you will get it. That's as compact as you will get it, you know. Skill-wise, I think that Pernell Whitaker had a lot more skills than James Toney. James Toney could roll punches, mostly fought mid-range to inside. He was more of a mid-range to inside fighter. Pernell Whitaker was more of any range fighter, right? And Pernell could do a number of different things. Mostly came off the jab. He didn't really roll punches like how, you know, James Toney or Floyd would do it. He didn't have that kind of Michigan defense, and he didn't really mostly block punches. He mostly slipped and rolled and pivoted away from punches and stuff like that. Now I gotta go get something to eat because my stomach is really starting to eat me. So, at the end of the day, I think that Sweet Pea, well, you know, had the better resume. I thought that he could fight at many different ranges, which made him a little bit more versatile than James Toney. And then the other thing that comes up when you think of Pernell Whitaker and James Toney is you ask yourself, James Toney was beaten by a guy called Samuel Peter repeatedly. Samuel Peter figured out James Toney's style. Pernell Whitaker really arguably wasn't beaten by anybody. I mean, he was old. I gotta say it. He was old and he was drugged out when he faced Tito Trinidad. We know that because he was caught using drugs against the opponent just before that and was disqualified for that. Which tells me he was using the cocaine to get more speed. That means he was losing his speed. And when you get older, that's the first thing to go is your legs, your speed, your reflexes are slower. All right? That's the first thing to go. Not your power, but your speed. And if Whitaker needed that reflexes, those quickness to speed, now he ain't got that quickness and reflexes to speed, especially when he got cocaine to supplement that. And he was also using drugs. He was using a lot of other things, and that's kind of what broke him down. The problem with Whitaker, where Floyd succeeded and Whitaker failed, was that Floyd took care of his body all the way through, right? Whitaker, on the other hand, you know, again, there was an interview, you know, that they had. I'll try and get the YouTube channel that interviewed him, where he was talking about, boy, he basically did boxing in the gym and he did his road work. That was all Whitaker used to do, and so, you know, he didn't even watch what he ate and all of that. So, you know, Whitaker, as he aged a lot more and faster than Floyd. It wasn't that he was getting touched in the ring, because he was hardly getting touched in the ring, but he was getting aged out because abuse of drugs, not really treating the body well. Yeah, you're doing the road work, you're doing your gym work, but not treating the body right all the time. You're abusing a drug. Like Sugar Ray Leonard was abusing drugs too. So, you know, if you listen to Pernell Whitaker as well, he got that slow draw. You know, he kind of, you know, telling you didn't treat the body too well. So you ended up having, you know, certain side effects, which probably why he died, probably because he didn't see the car coming, because his vision was limited. He's probably diabetic or something. You never know. But anyway, the point is, Pernell Whitaker, when he faced Felix Trinidad, didn't look as sharp as he usually would look, right? So, you know, he was on the decline. And let's see where it was in his career. How old was he when he faced Felix Trinidad? These are all good questions to find out. Let me see. So, he was born 1964. He started fighting in 1984. He was 20 years of age when he started fighting. When he faced Felix Trinidad, 1984 to 1999, that's 15 years. He was 35. So, you know, he was decaying. You know, at 35, for those kinds of guys. Unfortunately for him, because really, 35 now is not seen as old. Shane Mosley proved that because Shane Mosley used to take care of his body, even though he was using performance enhancers. He used to take care of his body. Shane Mosley wasn't, but Purnell, abused cocaine, and that's not good, and he fucked himself over. And how we know that? Because, like I said before, just 2 years before, he was tested positive for cocaine. The fucker was fucking around with cocaine. And it could be two reasons why. It could be that he was slowing down, so he wanted to use something to speed himself up, and he probably got addicted to it. Because it took him 2 fucking years before he faced Felix Trinidad. He had no fight. He was off from boxing for 2 years, so he was going to be a bit off as a boxer. He had no tune-up fight. He just went straight in and faced Felix Trinidad. So maybe it was the ban. Maybe it was him trying to get off of cocaine and be clean. Who knows what the fuck he was doing. But he came back and faced Felix Trinidad, and he got his ass whooped. And again, inactive. You can't be, at that age, you can't be inactive for so long. Let's see. It was actually October of 1997 and February of 1999. So it wasn't exactly 2 years. It was like a year and, what would that be? February, October, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7. Take away from 12. It was a year 5 months. So about a year 5 months is over. That's very long for a guy who's old. You need to be always boxing. You need to keep yourself active. And he hadn't been fighting for a year and 5 months. On top of that, he ain't got his cocaine, so his reaction time is going to be slightly off. So all of those things probably the result of why he still looked good against Trinidad. It's just that I think his major problem was trying to hit Trinidad. Because Trinidad had a decent jab, and for some reason, he just couldn't get by Trinidad's jab. And throughout his career, he was getting by guys' jabs, but in this case, he just couldn't get past. And Oscar had a good jab, and he could get by Oscar's jab, but he couldn't get by Felix Trinidad's jab for some reason. I'll give credit to Trinidad for that, but honestly speaking, I think it was more Whitaker than it was Trinidad in this case. But then again, I'm a Whitaker fan, so maybe I'm making an excuse for Whitaker. He lost anyway to Felix Trinidad. That's the truth, And I can't say that he was done. I wouldn't say he was done against Felix Trinidad. But again, you off for a year and 5 months. It's not like Shane Mosley, who had fought and beat, fucking Margarito in 2019. I'm sorry, in 2009, and then comes in 2010 and fights. It's not like that, because people are saying that Shane Mosley got old overnight, and that wasn't the case. It was just Shane Mosley just was fighting somebody quicker than him, right? Felix Trinidad wasn't quicker than Whitaker either. So that's all of those things I thought about, and I was like, how come he loses to Felix Trinidad? Like, there ain't no way Whitaker would lose. He fought better fighters. He fought Oscar. Oscar outboxed Felix Trinidad for a couple rounds before he started getting bopped upside the head. Trinidad found range and just started nailing him. So if Oscar could have done that shit to Felix Trinidad, how come he couldn't do that? Because Oscar's very fast, right? And Oscar didn't beat Whitaker. So I thought about that, and I was like, he ain't himself, And it was just that he was slightly off. I think his timing was slightly off. And on top of that, he was slower. He definitely was slow. But he's still doing the Matrix on that motherfucker. He was still doing the Matrix, which was kind of cool. Yeah. When did he face Oscar De La Hoya? Okay. Yeah, he faced Oscar in 97 as well. Almost 2 years before. So he faced Oscar. And Oscar got the nod over him. Faced Felix, and Felix did beat him. And then he had one more fight, and that was 2 years after that. 2 years after. So he was fighting like 2 years after the fact. And he was 1999, 2001. He was 37. He was done. Stick a fork in him. He was done. And just to prove he was done, he broke his clavicle. So I don't know if the guy punched him in his clavicle or somehow his clavicle snapped because of some heat punch or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. But he couldn't fight on, and that was that. And they gave Carlos the win. And just to be fair, the fight was close. The judges had Carlos slightly ahead in that fight. So Here's what it is. Yeah, man. So that was Pernell Whitaker's career, and honestly, I think that, like I was trying to argue, that's the first thing, and then I talk about skill wise, James Toney and Pernell Whitaker, whoever else you want to put in there. Look. This is the truth. This is the truth. Do you think that Willie Pep? Well, Willie Pep was a featherweight anyway, and a lightweight. But if Willie Pep was to face Pernell Whitaker at lightweight, who you think would win? Willie Pep or Whitaker? Who you got winning? If this would have never happened, but anyway, if James Toney somehow got super small, or Whitaker got super big somehow, some way, or Whitaker just had to put on a couple more pounds to fight at middleweight. But let's say James Toney fights Pernell Whitaker. Who wins that fight? That's how you have to ask yourself that question. And I just think that Whitaker could do anything he wanted to do in that ring. He always looked that way. And he always looked like he was beating the guy easy. He made it look easy. And he didn't expend all this big set of energy like Willie Pep did. And he wasn't just a guy that could fight at one range like James Toney could. So I always feel like much more versatile than those two guys. Still sticking off the jab, textbook style, pivoting, tight pivots, you know what I'm saying? And he could fight on the inside using the shoulder, he could fight on the outside, and he could fight at mid-range. And I just think he used less energy than them two guys. Took his time, kept his composure. He always kept his composure. That's why you see how Willie Pep got crowded by Sadie Sandler? That shit wasn't happening with Pernell Whitaker. He'd have turned Sadie Sandler. He'd have fight Sadie Sandler on the inside. And he was strong enough to fight a guy on the inside. And he was fighting got him. And the proof is in the pudding when he faced what's the guy's name? Julio Cesar Vasquez. Faced Julio Cesar Vasquez and he beat his ass. Right? And that was a much bigger guy than him. And it was a guy that was devastating, was knocking out people and stuff. Argentinian boxer, good boxer, solid boxer. He just couldn't beat Pernell Whitaker. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing that I thought was really cool was, imagine the commentary teams actively looking for your downfall and trying to get the opponent to sound, praising up the opponent, not praising you, and your ass still beating that opponent. That's how convincing Whitaker used to win his fights. Very clear, convincing wins. And James Toney had a lot of close fights where you could argue James Toney lost. But you can't say that about Pernell Whitaker. You know what I'm saying? You could argue that Willie Pep lost to some guys he shouldn't have lost to. But Pernell Whitaker can never say that. What you would say is that Pernell Whitaker should have won fights with these guys. That's what you would say. So I always felt like Pernell Whitaker was the quintessential defensive fighter. And he called himself that, and he really deserved to be called that. I mean, because even the last fight against Carlos Bojorquez, when you think about it, you can't really fault Whitaker for his clavicle breaking. It was a close fight. But even at the end of his career, at 37 years of age, coming out of retirement after 2 months layoff, this motherfucker still be giving trouble. You know what I'm saying? And he was like ancient of days because he ran down his buddy. But, Pernell Whitaker, he was doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? And against all-time greats. And he was just making them look like there was nobody. Like, his boxing is so good, he would make extraordinary guys look ordinary. There was no competition. You know what I'm saying? James Toney's fights still look exciting and shit like that. And, action-packed. Whitaker would just shut everybody down and still be scoring in your ass. You know what I'm saying? So, that's where Floyd got his stuff from. That's why Floyd would convincingly beat people. Floyd got it from Pernell Whitaker. He was a protege of, people say, but Whitaker was one of his mentees. And, just before Whitaker died, Floyd and Whitaker were together again. And Whitaker, you can see Whitaker's face was filled with pride watching that Floyd, that he had fulfilled that, one of the things I'm really happy about, boxing-wise and otherwise, was that Pernell Whitaker got to see the day of vindication through Floyd. Floyd, people hate Floyd and all that shit, whatever. But, Floyd fulfilled what he wanted to do as Whitaker. Whitaker wanted to go out there and be undefeated as well because he deserved to be undefeated and be called the best boxer in the world, and he was. Pound for pound, this man was pound for pound the best boxer for for a number of years. In fact, let me show you guys. He was that fucking good. You know, nobody else I think had as many pound for pound nominations and wins as Pernell Whitaker. The only person to supersede Pernell Whitaker is Floyd. He superseded him, but again, he was his protege, so that kind of makes sense. That's why Whitaker's always been proud of Floyd. I remember when the WBC convention, Whitaker was just so proud of Floyd. And he was saying, I was so proud of Floyd. He said that. Hold on a second. So Floyd sort of brought to reality what Roy Jones Jr. and Pernell Whitaker wanted to see happen for themselves in boxing. And so that's why they're so happy for Floyd, because one of them actually succeeded at doing this, you know. So Pernell Whitaker is called the best defensive fighter of all time. And if you want to compare Whitaker to Floyd, you're still going to see that in 46 fights, Whitaker faced, I think it was 16 world champions, and a plethora of Hall of Famers. I think 6 or 7 Hall of Famers in 46 fucking fights. You understand what I'm saying? That's remarkable. And again, he was a guy that didn't really take a lot of stay busy fights once he became world champion. There were a couple of them. And then he was match tough from the very beginning. Floyd was not match tough like that. Oscar and Pernell Whitaker will match very, very tough in the beginning of their careers. Not even Sugar Ray Leonard or Sugar Ray Robinson was matched that tough. So let me just show you. The ring ratings. The ring ratings in terms of pound for pound. Again, the ring goes all the way back to 1921, which is why I use the ring. And you know, they talk about Oscar De La Hoya and management and all that bullshit, but you know. Okay, so hold on. All right, pound for pound. Fuck. Alright. Okay. So hold on one second. I'm gonna get it. All right. Just 1 second, right? Okay, so it was the 1990s, and Julio Cesar Chavez was pound for pound, you know, the best fighter in the world from 1990 to 1992. So for 3 years, Julio Cesar Chavez was the dude, and then from 1993 to 1995, Pernell Whitaker was the dude. Right? Pernell Whitaker was pound for pound the #1 fighter in the world. Then it was Roy Jones in 1996. 1997 was Oscar De La Hoya to 1998. And then Roy Jones in 1999. And that was that. That was that. Alright. So Whitaker shared with Julio Cesar Chavez the most amount of nominations and successes as pound for pound champion of the world than anybody else until Floyd Mayweather, I believe, and Manny Pacquiao. Jackson the Hopeful says, I said that already. Pooh Strong says, Aram says Loma's resume is better than Mayweather's. I'm not sure what he means. Maybe what he's talking about probably is the starting of his resume, which would be true. Lomachenko started off like Lomachenko and Guillermo Rigondeaux started off with some fucking crazy resumes. Lomachenko had a world championship eliminated match in his first fucking fight. In his second fight, he was in a championship fight. So yeah, hands down, Lomachenko's resume looks crazy to begin with than Floyd Mayweather's. If overall, of course not. Of course not. But Lomachenko's career is not over, so we got to see what. Let's see what happens with Lomachenko. But, okay, there you go. Poopy Strong, what's up, my dude? What's up? Yeah. When you're talking about resume wise, Manny Pacquiao's resume is an impressive resume. It's impressive, especially with this Keith Thurman on his list. Win, lose, or draw, that's a fucking crazy opponent. Pacquiao's still chipping away, man. He making a case for why he can call himself the greatest of this era, or a greater guy than Floyd. He ain't better than Floyd. He's not a better boxer than Floyd. He never will be. And he's not the best of this era. But he may be a greater boxer than Floyd just because of the challenges he's taken on and the perception of him by people, favorable perception by him. In the professional community, everybody want to be like Floyd. People respect Floyd a lot. They know he's better than Pacquiao in terms of boxing. But in terms of greatness, I think Pacquiao surpasses Floyd in that category, which Floyd doesn't really give a fuck about anyway. You know. Floyd should be greater than Pacquiao, but because, like I said, fucking Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant, these guys kind of that beauty of what Floyd was doing and who he faced and all of that shit. They pretty much they sort of smeared it. Bob around. They smeared it. So they talk about, Pacquiao faced Floyd 5 years too late. And whose fault is that? Huh? Whose fault is that? Oh, that's Floyd's fault. Fuck no. Not Floyd's fault. And it wasn't 5 years too late. Just imagine. Pacquiao faces Floyd in 2010. Right? Floyd stops fucking Pacquiao like he did Ricky Hatton. Okay? What will happen after that? What would happen after that? Pacquiao might have gone on the face, but then people were like, Pacquiao ain't worth shit. Look, after Pacquiao faced Floyd, and Floyd easily beat Pacquiao there, people are like, Pacquiao ain't worth shit. Bob Arum doesn't even have Pacquiao on top rank anymore. And then all of a sudden, the lure of Manny Pacquiao is going down the drain. Like my boy, Get This Smoke was saying. He'd have still gone on and done great things, but he wouldn't have been as big as he was. It's Floyd that made him big. And punking Floyd, even though they're the ones that walked. Bullshit, but it is what it is. What was Manny's best win to me? Well, it's one where you don't have any question marks on it, and you're not suspecting the guy of being cheated or somebody getting weakened. So I would say his best performance to date is Timothy Bradley 3. Timothy Bradley 3. Yeah. Timothy Bradley 3. Adrian Broner fight was good too. He fucked up with Jeff Horn. He didn't do his homework right. You going down into fucking Australia. If you know anything about Australia, they always go for the home guy. You look at the fight with Parker versus the fuck is his name? The Mexican dude. who is now unified world champion, right? And they gave it to Parker. You don't expect that if that fight is anywhere near competitive, your ass gonna lose the fight? Pacquiao, come on, man. Pacquiao, you knew better than that. You know, Bob wanted to, be promoted, so Bob Arum pushed that shit. But that was a fucked up fight. I mean, Pacquiao, Jeff Horn was able to smother Pacquiao enough to beat him. I know Pacquiao wanted the rematch. He never got his rematch. He should have gotten his rematch against Jeff Horn. It's never going to happen because Jeff Horn's at middleweight now. It's never going to happen. But Pacquiao wanted his revenge because Jeff Horn did beat him. I'll give them that. It wasn't a robbery or anything, but you're just thinking your ass is going down into a foreigner's territory. You're going into another guy's. You gotta clearly beat his ass. Otherwise, they're going to give it to the other guy. I mean, just recently this dude went up into Germany to face a German fighter. Now, the fighter did win the fight. But the point is, you're going up into his fucking territory. You better knock his ass out, or you better beat him comprehensively. Otherwise, the motherfucker's going to, your motherfucker's going to win. He's going to win. He's in the home court advantage. It's like fucking basketball. He got home court advantage. Right? Look, Tyson Fury crossed the fucking seas to face Deontay Wilder. He didn't get a W. And they robbed his ass. It was 9-3. That's a robbery. He was fucking robbed. Okay? And that's sad. Because there's nothing you can do about it. Deontay Wilder had home court advantage. But everybody in that fucking stadium knows Deontay Wilder lost that fight. Right? Except for die-hard Deontay Wilder fans. Everybody knew he lost that fucking fight. People were finding excuses. What were their excuses? Well, he dropped him and he didn't make the 10 count. He knocked his ass out and the referee gave him extra time. That's all they had. They was not going to say that Wilder won. Wilder didn't win 4 rounds. He did not win 4 rounds. Right? Let's just be real here. I'm not a great Tyson Fury fan like that. Because I was backing Klitschko to beat his ass. But Wilder, and I prefer Wilder over Fury. I like Wilder more because he's sharper and everything, right? But at the end of the day, there's no way Wilder won that fight. No way. No way Deontay Wilder won. And he knows this. But in the rematch, something's going to be different. Wilder's not going to be so excited, to get at Fury, so that should help. And he needs to settle down a little bit more. Slow down that fucking pace and box more. Jackson the Hopeful. Floyd is underrated as far as greatness. He created a new paradigm on drug testing in sports as a whole. And motherfucking Floyd promoted Grant gloves. If you notice in boxing now, there's a lot more Grant gloves. There's a lot safer boxing. There's a lot more rules because of Floyd. Floyd advocated for boxers. Because of Floyd, motherfucking boxers have their own promotional companies now. Mikey Garcia be talking about his own promotional company and got fighters under him already. Even Gennady Golovkin have his own promotional company and fighters under him now. Because of fucking Floyd. Floyd did a fucking paradigm shift and said, no, we're the guys that sacrificing that fucking ring. We should be having the most benefits. Not the fucking promoters. And what Floyd did is he said, I'm going to give you guys the power to do what you need to do. And you guys can produce the better fights. Better fights than them fucking promoters did. And still not be screwed over at the same time. And if you look at it really in boxing, the people who are really fucking up boxing, like I said before, are fucking Bob Arum, right? And it was fucking Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant. It's fucking Bob Arum who can't get fights for his fighter. What's his fighter's name? Terrence Crawford, right? Terrence Crawford gonna be fighting some European fighter next, okay? Bob Arum can't find fights for his fucking fighter. So he's talking about Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. He ain't talking about Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter, or Terrence Crawford versus Keith Thurman, or Terrence Crawford versus Danny Garcia. He said he tried to get the Danny Garcia fight, right? If you look at it, the boxers who have their own promotional companies, You know, Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia, right? These guys are doing well. They're getting the fights they want to fight. The fans are seeing the fights that these guys that they think these guys should fight, right? Now we don't have to worry about no fucking promoter messing up shit because now the fighters are their own promoters. Now they say Al Heyman's a promoter, which is bullshit. Al Heyman is a manager, and what Al Heyman was able to facilitate, okay, thanks to just the way how he worked with his fighters, is he was able to empower the fighters to say, you know what, we don't even need no fucking promoter. You guys need to promote your own damn self. And he was able to work along with Golden Boy for a long period of time, Al Heyman and Golden Boy, and was able to therefore get Floyd the fights he wanted to fight because Floyd had his own promotional company and he twinned it with Golden Boy because they weren't licensed yet to be able to do that. And now Floyd has this little banner of fighters and they're doing very well under him. And the hope is that these guys would move off and do their own thing. And Floyd never held down anybody on any fucking contract. Look, Floyd let Jesse Vargas do his shit. Whatever Jesse Vargas want to do. Mickey Bay is now on his own. The Cuban dude, Luis the Cuba Arias, is gone with another promotional company. You know what I'm saying? Mayweather Promotion said, you know, we ain't tying down no fucking fighter. We're not tying down no fucking fighter. And that's how they're moving. And I'm just saying that, you know, AB got his own promotional company. And he's producing some really good fucking fighters coming out of AB Promotions. You know, AB may not be into boxing like that anymore, but he's into boxing still. The business aspect. That's why. All right, so people talk about Floyd selling himself, and it really and truly was a con man. But you know who was more of a con man? AB is more of a con man because AB didn't want to put in the work. AB didn't want. He wanted to fade to greats, but just to get their names on a resume. And anytime you are fighting so hard that you need to win, you ain't conning nobody. Right? You may be looking for every measure to win, but at the end of the day, you're not cunning anybody. And if you really look at Floyd's resume, you gotta watch his resume, man. His fucking resume is stacked. It's a stacked motherfucking resume. When I heard my boy Get This Smoke saying that Robert Guerrero, he ain't nobody impressive. That's how fucking stacked that resume is. Two-time world champion at featherweight and super featherweight, right? Interim champion at lightweight, interim champion at super lightweight, right? Beat all those guys at welterweight, including Andre Berto, right? Which everybody now thinks of as a joke. Two-time world fucking champion. Even Amir Khan is seen as a joke. Two-time fucking world champion, right? In two weight divisions with some bad names on the resume. And Marco Antonio Barrera, you know, Zab fucking Judah, you know what I'm saying? These some legends in the sport of boxing. You got them on your resume, but you still seen as a joke, right? Because now you're ducking everybody at welterweight. That's why. But nonetheless, right? Beat Marcos Maidana, however you want to look at that fight. You know, he beat Marcos Maidana. When Khan is seen as a joke in this day and age, that's how critical we are of fighters. Because if you look at the back-to-back fights, most of the fighters in this age, they're less fights. But there are a lot more tough fights back to back. And we got so much higher demands than back in the day. Back in the day, guys could get away with shit. They could get away with stay busy fights. They could get away with tune-up fights. They could get away with cherry-pick fights. Today, motherfuckers don't want to hear that. The demands by the fans is ridiculously high now. And you see it also in the movie industry where fans are very picky and very, very critical of performances. And the whole point behind it is in this day and age where everything we get now, I want this fucking fight now. You know, the UFC is able to deliver that shit, and boxing's not able to deliver that shit, and we don't realize how much boxing has evolved because the level of boxing and just the level of athlete and just the quality of boxing has gone so high up in the air. It's not funny. I mean, the guys are boxing smarter now and harder now. And there's so much shit going on with boxing, but people don't realize that, you know. And then they talk about throwback fights and throwback fighters. Now understand that was a fucking different era. That was eons ago. Like that shit that y'all are reminiscing on, shit, them fighters back then, if you bring them forward into this time, No fucking, you just leave them with what they have. Just how they train themselves and everything. And they come into this era, man, a lot of beat down. Bad. Bad, motherfucker. Bad. Right? If they were training on the same kind of training regimen as the fighters today and all of that, they would be fantastic. No doubt about it. But you just take them from throwback, which you reminiscing on, and you bring them forward into this time, a lot of them motherfuckers will get knocked the fuck out. Because the conditioning is not the same. They're smaller fighters. It's just a lot of shit that they have to overcome in this fucking era to be able to even try and compete. You know, they wouldn't look as great as they were. That's what I keep on telling people. And people keep on looking at me like, no, that's not so. Blah, blah, blah. You're just bashing the past greats. Blah, 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 blah. Don't understand what the fuck I'm saying. This is common sense, but hey, that goes out the window when people have fandom. You know what I'm saying? Alright. Floyd is underrated as far as greatness. He created a new paradigm in drug testing. Yeah, there's so many things Floyd did. He's a pioneer of all kinds of shit. I can go down a fucking list about that, but I thought Manny's best performance was against Miga Cotto. Fastest he ever was. Every shot Manny threw, Cotto felt. Best I've ever seen Manny, even though Cotto was weight drained. So I can't call that his best performance because Cotto was weight drained. And on top of that, I don't know if Manny wasn't using something that he wasn't supposed to be using. Keep on saying that. So there was a question mark on that shit. You know, I talked about James Toney. They disqualified James Toney for beating John Ruiz, right? John Ruiz was the first Latin heavyweight champion of the world for Puerto Rico background, right? Andy Ruiz was the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world, right? So as far as I know, Andy Ruiz is clean. So, you know, I can't give Manny that Cotto fight like that. That would not be my best. If you see looking the best, that's a totally different story. But, you know, people wanted Paulie kicked off of Showtime for saying Wilder lost to Fury. Fuck them. He's telling the truth. Jackson Hopeful says even Amir Khan has his own promotional company. yeah. You're funny, man. A Amir Khan artist, huh? Clarissa Jackson the Hopeful. Clarissa Shields, Amir Khan. Who wins? Ooh, that's an interesting fight. That's an interesting fight. Khan's quick. I think Shields gets him. I think Clarissa Shields knocks his ass out. She'll stop him. She don't have that great boxing. She's still greenish. But I think she would get to him at some point. Rough him up or something and get to him. Even though Khan is strong, don't get me wrong. Khan is a strong fighter. He's strong. He gets you in a grip. When he gets you in a clinch, he doesn't let go. So it'd be interesting. He might clinch her and stop her action. And he might get the win over her. He might outbox her. She's still green. You know, she's still green. So, but if she could tap that chin a couple times, oh, she gonna knock his ass out. She get him laid out. But he's quicker than her by far, and faster than her. So I lean towards Khan. But she could catch him. So that would be like that's a 50-50 fight. That could go either way. I'm not saying it because she is a woman. I'm saying it because of her experience and how she fights. You know, if she catches him, it's night. She catches him. Yeah, but he's very fast. She's not as quick as he is at all. So I think that's the reason why I said it's a 50-50 fight. She could knock him out. He could outbox her. It's a 50-50 fight. Yeah, that was a good fight. It's a good fight for her. She wanted to fight a guy, high profile. Yeah, Khan. Yeah. Which leads me to a fight that's going to happen over the weekend. It's the co-main event with Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. And that's Caleb Plant versus Mike Lee. And that's going to be a good-ass fight. I mean, Mike Lee, this is a big step up for him. You know, Mike Lee had a disease, which is an autoimmune disease. So he had to overcome that. Spent 2 years out of the boxing ring, came back, overcame that to some degree, and he's boxing still, and he got some good skills. He was trained by Ronnie Shields. He's now in the Wild Card Gym. He a good boxer. He's solid. I mean, Caleb Plant going to box his ass, but nonetheless, it should be still a good fight. I don't think he's going to go the distance. I think Caleb Plant's going to knock his ass out, but he's a good fighter. He's not bad. He's just the level of competition. I don't think he faced a guy like Caleb Plant or anything like that, near that. So, good luck to Mike Lee anyway. Jackson Hopeful says Khan could get knocked out because of his cotton candy chin, but I think Juan Francisco Estrada would whoop Shields' butt. Juan Francisco Estrada, Estrada cracks pretty hard, but I think Shields is stronger than Estrada. I think she's stronger than him. So she would get hit for sure. That's why I see Shields don't have that great defense. She's going to get hit by Khan. She's going to get fucking hit by Khan. She's not fast enough. So Khan's going to be tagging up Shields. Would it be like a Louis Collazo fight? It could be. I don't know. You see, I have to see them kind of match up. As much as Khan's chin is, chinny, it's for Shields. Can Shields even catch Khan? On the, and he engages and stuff, and he's very fast and all of that shit. And I think it just his speed is a little too much for Claressa Shields. I think so. I think Claressa Shields is not a better boxer than Devin Alexander, in my opinion. And Khan did a number on Devin Alexander. She probably stronger than Khan, so probably she could bully him into a corner or something. Wrestle him into a corner. But then again, probably not stronger than Khan, because Khan has fought at middleweight as well. He got his ass knocked out, but he's fought at middleweight. So, I don't know. It's a good-ass fight. It's a good-ass fight. That's how I look at it. It's a good fight. It's a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. And I think about it. It could go either way. It could go all the way to Khan, unanimous decision win. I don't think he can drop Shields. I think Shields is too strong for him. But I think Shields would watch at Canelo and how he fought Khan, and she'd set him up and she'd knock his ass out. So, I mean, it could go either way, in my opinion, right now. That's a good fight, actually. That's a good matchup for Shields. That's a good matchup for Shields. That's a winnable fight for him. With respect to what Bones is doing with Khan, he's trying to slow down Khan, get him to keep his composure. I heard Pernell Whitaker say the same thing that Georgie Benton was doing with him, which was slowing him down, letting him pace, take his time. Floyd always talks about taking your time and stuff, and that I can see where he got it from Pernell. Pernell got all that experience that Georgie Benton had, all the little tricks of the trade. So I guess Floyd got all of that from Pernell as well. I know Pernell mentored Floyd, not only Zab Judah, but he also mentored Floyd. Because Floyd and Pernell, see each other on occasion all the time. And Pernell did come from the best boxing Olympic squad ever. They had 9 gold medals. It was in 1984. So that experience from Pernell, that sparring of Pernell gave Floyd so much. You'd be surprised. That definitely was important. Sparring Pernell Whitaker for Floyd's career, and that's why if you listen to Floyd Mayweather, I think a lot of people, they not listening to Floyd. They inferring that Floyd said he got the better of Pernell. Floyd never said that. He would never say that. First of all, Errol Spence would never say he got the better of Floyd. First of all, right. Second of all, if you fucking sparring, there's no such thing as I got the better. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, it's gonna be an epic sparring. But at the end of the day, you got to go back the next day and spar the motherfucker again. You think you're gonna get the better of him every fucking day? No, it's not gonna happen. All right. So, and you not experienced as that motherfucker, and you think come on, man. So I think Floyd passed the torch to Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence is the next. Pernell passed the torch to Floyd. So it is what it is. I mean, Roy and Pernell are proud of Floyd. If you ask Roy Jones Jr. about Floyd, Roy Jones Jr. gonna say, I'm proud for him, I'm happy for him, and stuff like that. Because Roy, again, was a mentor to Floyd. You know, Floyd borrowed a couple things from Roy. He did. You know, he would, I mean, you know, the check hook. I mean, Floyd knew about the check hook and stuff, but, you know, Roy was the guy that started hooking people and doing that check hook thing. And he's fanning the jab. Floyd wasn't jabbing nobody. You know, Floyd wasn't jabbing no more, he was just hooking. You know, and that's because of Captain Hook. Roy could jab, but he chose to, you know, people always think you need to jab. So Roy decided, you know what, fuck that. Because against Vinny Pazienza, that's what Roy did. He jabbed the shit out of Vinny Pazienza. You know, but I always thought that Floyd heavily borrowed from Roy because he was growing up, he was seeing Roy, right? And then he borrowed from Perno, and he got hands-on with Perno. He didn't get hands-on with Roy, but he got hands-on with Perno. And obviously Perno would have kept in touch with him throughout his career. And I wouldn't be surprised he also asked advice at certain points in time from Pernell Whitaker. But that would be very special, that he actually sparred Pernell Whitaker. And Zab Judah sparred. And then Sharif also was there, and he probably sparred too. So fucking crazy, man. That, remember, Pernell Whitaker was the man in boxing. You know, I'll miss him. I'll miss Pernell Whitaker. Even though I wasn't around Pernell Whitaker a lot, just knowing that his presence is gone, like that, his physical presence is serious, man. I don't know how many people really a lot of people gonna feel it because, you know, that was, I mean, the standard that Pernell Whitaker put forth in boxing. You know, he took the bar up. He took the bar up. Remote footwork. You know, Buddy McGirt did some things that was good in boxing too. But Whitaker, man, he took it to a whole fucking other level, man. You know, Buddy McGirt, he lost to Mildred Taylor. But he really lost to Pernell Whitaker. You know, he was out boxing Mildred Taylor and shit. And then Mildred Taylor was roughing him up and, you know, landing body punches and shit and starting to break him down. But with fucking Pernell Whitaker, especially the second fight, Buddy McGirt knows he lost that fucking fight. He lost that. He lost. He ain't even trying to make excuses for that. He straight up lost. He said, man, Whitaker beat my ass. He actually said that. You know what I mean? You know what I would love to see, though? I'd love to see Pernell Whitaker versus Mildred Taylor. I'd love to see that. Because Mildred Taylor had a lot of speed. But I just don't think Mildred Taylor would have beaten Pernell Whitaker at all. Because Whitaker, I mean, you can have all the speed you want. Unless you can change directions really, really fast. You know, and your pivot work was on point. There's no way it was hitting Pernell. How you going to hit Pernell? Did you see? Oh, I sent that to, what the fuck his name is? I forgot his name. Sorry about the F-bomb. But man, nobody beats Pernell Whitaker. You know, they say nobody beats Floyd. Pernell Whitaker used to say that too. Nobody beats Floyd Mayweather, right? Hey, look. Nobody beats Pernell Whitaker. That's what I gotta say. There ain't nobody in boxing. Okay, Tito beat him, yeah, right. But I mean, what I really mean to say is, Pernell Whitaker on his game? Oh, fuck that. Pernell Whitaker on half his game. Nobody beats Pernell Whitaker. That includes Floyd on half his game. You know, Floyd, well, nah, I can't say Floyd can't beat Pernell Whitaker. That's bullshit. But what I'd say is it's fucking competitive. Because he's turning you all the time. He's turning you all the time. You know, so you have to figure out what you're going to do about that. And somebody would have had to be the aggressor. And more than likely, Floyd would have been the aggressor at points. And Pernell would have been the aggressor at other points. Because if you look at, when Whitaker is boxing a boxer, he going to get aggressive. If he's boxing a puncher or a brawler, he going to use his defense, let you come to him. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, Floyd would have come to him at certain points. He would have been going to Floyd. It would have been a great fucking fight to watch. You know, for those people who like boxing, it would have been a great fucking fight to watch. It would have been a chess match. I could only imagine what the sparring looked like. But I think that this Floyd versus that Pernell Whitaker would have been, oh my God, that would have been great. I mean, let's be honest. Whitaker was the mentor of Floyd, so it would have been crazy to see. But I think it's just like, if you think about it, it'd be like, you know, Floyd facing Errol Spence right now. And when Errol Spence is almost at the end of his career, we're looking back at his career, you know, we'd be like, man, shit, I would have loved to see Floyd versus Errol Spence. You know, that kind of thing. So it looks like Errol Spence is the next. So we'll see how Errol Spence fares. We got Gervonta Tank Davis, but he's a small dude. I don't know how much weight classes he'll move up. Glad to see. But you know, Errol Spence looks like the next. We'll see what happens with Errol. I love his pivot work. I love his fucking pivot work. That's the beauty part of the whole thing, you know. And I can't wait to see what Errol, because Errol's like physically, his conditioning is probably more than Floyd's. You know, he looks really great condition wise. So I don't know, man. The next generation look like they're gonna get sharper and tighter with defense and tighter with different things. We're gonna see. We'll see. I know. You know, the nice thing about Floyd was he made boxing so much simpler. You know, he make it look simple what he did to, it was very complicated, but he make it look simple, you know. And there are things Floyd could do that Pernell can't do, and the things that Pernell does that Floyd doesn't do and probably can't do. Yeah. You know, the way how Pernell his hands move at totally different speed to his feet, while moving in a totally different direction to his torso, and it's just weird ass shit. You see him walking, and he do it like his feet have their own life. Like his feet be moving, and he going backwards, pivoting. It's just weird to see him do it, you know. And that's why it's so weird. Like his hands are moving at a totally different speed to his feet. It's just so weird. And you're wondering, where's he getting the leverage off of? Because usually, like say, if I want to throw a punch here, right? I want to throw a punch, right? I usually throw a punch off my foot, right? Right? Well, Whitaker could be moving at a different speed with his feet like this, right? And he going in a circle, right? And his hands doing something totally different. And then he just bop. He hit you bop with a shot. And his foot and his hands just kind of coordinate the same way. Whop. And then he's back to this weird coordination. Like his feet's doing something totally different to his upper body. And it's just so weird to watch. You know, and I like that. And that's why I said there's only one Pernell Whitaker. Like his feet totally different. I don't know how he did it. You know, you learn to practice piano. Your left hand do something individually to your right hand. So maybe it's something like that. But yeah, he just weird. I mean, and he made it look so natural at the same time. You know, how his feet would do what they do. You know, so that, you know, you throwing punches at Pernell, he blocked every single one. There was a highlight. You can go check it out. Pernell Whitaker versus Oscar De La Hoya. I think it's 45 seconds. And Oscar throws, I don't know if it's the second round or what. Oscar goes southpaw and throws a barrage of shots. And not one hits Pernell Whitaker. And they show it in slow motion, and you realize that motherfucker he just hitting air. And what's so funny about the whole thing is that Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant, Jim Lampley gets like he's getting an orgasm. You know, he's like, right hand by Oscar De La Hoya. Look at the fury. And then Larry Merchant says, you think he won the round at the end of that round because of that? Then they slow it down. And Larry Merchant's all excited. He said, and now there comes Oscar, and he's throwing these punches. And then at the end of the whole flurry, he says that not one lands on Pernell Whitaker. However, it's funny as fuck, man. He says not one lands on Pernell Whitaker. He looks like, you can see the disappointment in his voice. You can hear his voice drop. You guys should go watch that. It's about 45 seconds. Man, I laughed my ass off. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was funny as fuck. And the thing about it is, it's like they praying for this motherfucker's downfall. They was praying for Pernell Whitaker to lose. They was praying for him, you know. And I couldn't understand it. What was the jealousy, the hatred on this guy? What did Pernell Whitaker do to him? I don't know. You know. But the Golden Boy, when the Golden Boy got the win, man, Jim Lampley rejoiced, probably peed his pants in joy. You know, I could see fucking Larry Merchant smiling from ear to ear. Yeah, the nigga got beat. Cocky ass nigga. Moving around like a peacock. You know what I mean? I just gotta say it. Because I just don't like how they commented on this guy. Every single fight, somebody, the opponent, gonna beat his ass. You know, I remember Pernell Whitaker saying, man, they prayed for my downfall. They was hoping I'd get my ass knocked out. You know, same thing Floyd would be saying, of course. You realize Floyd's kind of like, that's why they compare him to Pernell. But Floyd succeeded at beating nobody in the ring, beat his ass. Nobody. Didn't even get a fucking draw. You understand what I'm saying? And, you know, I could feel the joy in Pernell Whitaker when he looks at Floyd. He's so happy. Like his eyes light up. Because it's like, yeah, motherfucker. You know they was gunning for your ass. Yeah, you got it, motherfucker. And you got the game too. You could see him filled with joy. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I remember Floyd talking to Kenny, what's his name? Kenny, whatever his name was. Something Kenny. Brian Kenny. And Floyd was like, you praying for my downfall, but it'll never happen, you know. He said, God's will. Floyd would say something like that. And again, people don't like to hear about that when Floyd would say those things, but I think Floyd kind of epitomizes the hero. Like the guy who he not only beat the system, but he also beat back all that hate. He beat it back. And y'all can say what you want about Floyd. At the end of the day, and Floyd's a black man, like Pernell Whitaker was a black man, like literally they're black, okay? You look at Floyd, he's black. He ain't no other color. He ain't brown. He ain't beige. He ain't mulatto, okay? He black, okay? Pernell Whitaker, black, right? Roy Jones Jr., he's a little, like you brown skinned boy like myself. But they're black people. So like you couldn't say that they weren't black. They're black. And Floyd never tried to bleach his skin, nothing. Black. I love that. And he loves his melanin. And I'm just saying, they always try to make the black dude a villain. They always try to say, oh no, he ain't as good as he says he is. You know, and for the first time, you know, racist ass Jim Lampley and fucking Larry Merchant, I don't like them. You can tell that, right? They couldn't say nothing about Floyd. So what are they gonna do? They put together this plan. Oh, he really didn't beat the best, you know. And then you got a jealous fucking ass niggas. All right, I'm gonna call them as they are, jealous ass niggas, right? Who now trying to dong him, talk about some fucking fighter back in the 1920s. You want to compare Sam Langford? That motherfucker bringing up Sam Langford. Who the fuck is Sam Langford? He's a totally different era, first of all. Oh, you got to carry Floyd all the way back into Sam Langford's era. With the knowledge that he has now? From Sam Langford and all them motherfuckers? Oh, he beat Sam Langford's ass. He outboxed him, right? Y'all don't like to hear me say that. Because, oh, you big Flomo. No, he beat him. Because you know why? Because your jealous ass got to find somebody way back in the 1920s to say that Floyd beat. But y'all would say Sugar Ray Leonard was the best. Right? Y'all wasn't pulling somebody from the 1920s to compare with Sugar Ray Leonard back then, you jealous ass motherfucking nigga. I had to put him on blast because these fuckers, you could tell there's hate in their eyes. You gotta pull somebody you would pull somebody out of your ass. You create a fictitious person from the Rocky movie if you had to. Now, Drago would beat him. That's the shit I'm talking about. And am I being real or not? Okay? That's the shit that I'm talking about. And that's the thing I don't like. Alright? Because y'all didn't do that for no other fighter in history. Well, as far as I do now. Right? You probably did. They probably did. Because I'm pretty sure if motherfucking what's his name? If motherfucking Jack Johnson. God damn it. Jack Johnson would have tick off everybody. Because you know Jack Johnson be walking with some white chick. You know he ain't going with no black chick. Fuck y'all black chicks. Fuck the sisters. You be riding with some white chick, Jack fucking Johnson, and have swag like shit. He got all his sisters being pissed mad at him. Jack fucking Johnson, who they made a fucking law against. They made the man law for Jack Johnson, right? Yeah, Floyd's like Jack Johnson. Y'all don't like him, but some of the black community, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with y'all people, man. How you could turn on... Anyways, whatever. The point is, at the end of the day, fucking Jack Johnson got a lot of hate too. But mostly from the white community, not so much from the black. Black community didn't want to say too much on it because they get lynched, right? Today, figuratively, black people don't want to talk about Floyd a certain way, certain ones of them, right? Because they're afraid to get lynched. You know, Flomo! You're the racist, Flomo! I'm just joking. But my point anyway is this. At the end of the day, you know, Pernell Whitaker was the bomb, man. He was the bomb. You know, it's so, and I just feel so mad that he's dead because, in a way, I was hoping he'd be around. Of course, he's inducted in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Of course, he's an all-time great. All right, he's up there with the top all-time greats of all time. You know, but I feel like still the justice wasn't quite done for this motherfucker. You know, and I feel so bad about it because obviously I rate Pernell Whitaker very highly, and anybody who knows a fuck about boxing rates him very, very highly, right? You know, he fought motherfuckers in his era, man. He never fought Shane Mosley. You know, he never fought Winky Wright, or he never fought Mildred Taylor. There was some good ass guys in his era that he didn't get the opportunity to face, you know. But at the end of the day, anyway, he fought basically the best. You know, Tito Trinidad was one of the best. I mean, he was the best welterweight at the time. Oscar was the best welterweight at the time he faced Oscar, when Oscar was on the come up. You know, Oscar won his welterweight title from Pernell Whitaker. You know, and those were the key players in the 2000s, right? It was Tito and Oscar. So, I mean, he you know, he was like, I can't even explain what kind of status he had. To me, he had a status that was one in which HBO tried to make him the heel. You know what I'm saying? In the boxing ring, he was like the bad guy because they only said bad things about him mostly when he was in the boxing ring. You know, they was always hoping for his downfall in the boxing ring. And it's one of those things where they talk about Floyd playing the heel, but, you know, or Roy, you know, HBO was so adverse to Roy as well. You know, it's only with Floyd, and I think the only reason why, and even Roy, you know, with Floyd pointed out what the shit that we're doing, because they were tearing down great black fighters. You know what I'm saying? And Floyd called it out for what it was. You know, and eventually he left HBO and he went to Showtime. You know. Anyway, but the point I was making is that Pernell Whitaker was no heel. He was a stand-up dude. He was a good guy. You know what I'm saying? And yet they villainized him. You know, and they sabotaged him. You know, his reputation. You know, even though in spite of all of the negative things they said about him, you know, the proof is in the pudding, just watching at the fights, you know. But it just, I mean, he suffered, man. He suffered under those people, man. If it was Howard Cosell, this motherfucker would be even a greater burning star than Sugar Ray Leonard. You just imagine Howard Cosell calling them fights. You see what I'm saying? And he's a white man, but he was a fair white dude. You know what I'm saying? And I think Muhammad Ali had something to do with that. And you know, it's sad because, you know, just having a commentary team that's actively pulling down a fighter. Perno was one of the brightest shining stars, man. He was one of the brightest lights in boxing. You know, that motherfucker could do it everything. He could do it all. You know, and better than Roy Jones Jr. You know what I mean? And you know, because of the commentary, man, this motherfucker, you know, ain't getting the shine he should probably get. And we have to be talking about, oh, you have to go look up Pernell Whitaker. You got to go look up this guy. How you mean go look? What the fuck you talking about? This man should never, you never had to tell somebody to go look him up. He should have a name that's as big as Sugar Ray Leonard. He should have a name as big as Muhammad Ali. He should have a name as big as Floyd Mayweather. You shouldn't have to go look this motherfucker up. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said HBO fucked him over. Really fucked him over. You know, he was too good a boxer to be so you know, put down like that. You know, we shouldn't have to go look him up. We should be able to know him. He should be a name to this day. He shouldn't be, you know, and somebody need to do something about that. Somebody need to do something about that. You know. So that's what I'm trying to get at, you know. Anyways, like I said, Caleb Plant, he gonna be facing Mike Lee. That's a good ass fight. That's a co-main event on Fox pay-per-view. You know, so Caleb is headlining his own event, which is good for Caleb. Caleb's from Nashville, Tennessee. You know, and I look forward to that, you know. Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez. Who wins? I got Caleb Plant. AJ ATX making a good point. Yeah, man. I mean, AJ ATX says, but I really want Canelo versus Andre. That's the fight, man. What the fuck? Oh, I saw somebody say something about Canelo. What y'all saying? Did you hear no Canelo in September? How you mean no Canelo in September? He not fighting? That fucker don't want to face Demetrius Andre? What the fuck? He gotta face. What the fuck? He gotta face Demetrius Andre in September. Fuck that. Fight Demetrius Andre. What the fuck? July, August, September. Fuck this. Face Demetrius Andre, Canelo. I don't want to hear that you ain't got no fight. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here. Get that Demetrius Andre fight on the road. What the fuck? Fans of Canelo Alvarez, y'all need to step up and say what you want. And what y'all need to do is put your money where your mouth is. Get a subscription to DAZN. And let Canelo face this fucking Demetrius Andre. We need to do something as fans. We are active fans out here. Let's get this shit on the road. Listen, I'm going to buy. I'm buying the DAZN subscription. I'm promoting for DAZN. And all people going to support DAZN if motherfucking Canelo faces Demetrius Andre. DAZN, you need to push for that fucking fight. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. And don't tell me he's not fighting in September, because he can fight in September. All right, he's not unhealthy. He doesn't have any injury or nothing like that. So make him fight in September, Demetrius fucking Andre, and then he can always fight Gennady Golovkin come May. What the fuck? Was he injured or something? What the fuck? Come on, man. I want Demetrius fucking Andre. Let's get this unification. It's gonna be a bigger fight if he's an undisputed middleweight champion of the world. What the fuck? I mean, this makes all the sense in the world. What the fuck is wrong with Canelo? Come on, man. Make that happen. Golden Boy, what the fuck is wrong with you? Make that fucking fight happen. Shit. Demetrius fucking Andre. Make it happen. He is a contemporary of Canelo. They both started at 154. Make that fucking fight happen. Make that fight happen. Fuck it, man. What the hell? What the hell are they doing? Come on, man. Canelo. Shit. That's the fight I want to see. And most of your fans. In fact, you know what? Because that you're going to become undisputed fucking champion, man. Then you could go face Gennady Golovkin after. The fuck? I mean, no fight in September. Come on, man. The fuck, man? What is wrong with fucking DAZN? Shit. That's the fight that you got to push. Shit, I'll buy a subscription. You know what? I need to put my money where my mouth is. I need to buy DAZN. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that before the end of the week. I'm gonna buy DAZN. But listen, DAZN, you need to make sure that fucking Canelo versus Andre fight. You got enough time. It's what we in July? We got August. That's 4 weeks. September 14th. You're gonna have 6 weeks of training. You don't need more than 6 weeks of training. Shit. Get that fucking shit on the road. We want to see that fucking fight. Get the fuck out of here, man. Shit. I want Canelo versus Demetrius Andrew. What the fuck? Get that fucking fight going, man. Shit. God damn it, man. I too, AJ ATX. I also want Canelo versus Andre. Wilder versus Ruiz. Fuck Wilder versus Ruiz. Wilder got Ortiz, and Ruiz got Joshua. Jackson or Canelo couldn't get Kovalev, a man who DAZN approved, but not Andre. Fuck out of here, DAZN. Exactly. Right? The motherfucker Kovalev don't even fight on DAZN. He didn't fight on motherfucking DAZN. Get the fuck out of here. And don't tell me Andre is a DAZN fighter. Man, now you see now you getting the fans angry, DAZN. Don't fuck I don't know what the fuck is wrong with y'all people. But this is not rocket fucking science, okay? The man has the WBO title, okay? Demetrius fucking Andre. He has the WBO title. Why are y'all ducking and dodging this motherfucker? What the fuck? Are y'all afraid to face this motherfucker? What the fuck? This ain't rocket science. He got the last piece. Undisputed middleweight championship of the world. Y'all could easily promote this shit. It's the undisputed middleweight champion of the world you're gonna promote. It's fucking Canelo, so you're gonna make money. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Y'all wanna deny Andre a chance at the what is the fuck? All of a sudden, what? Is Canelo afraid of Demetrius Andre? Right? I don't understand. Right? He had a good fucking fight with Danny Jacobs. What the fuck are you pussyfooting around Demetrius Andre? I'm not hearing his name. Right? Oh, he not a cash draw? Fuck out of here. Canelo's a cash draw. So don't even talk about it. And if you're not even having a fight, you're not making no fucking money. So what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with DAZN, man? Shit. I want to see Canelo versus Demetrius Andrew. Make that fucking fight happen. Make that fucking fight happen. You know? Shit. Make that fucking fight happen. What? September's off. What the fuck? What's wrong with Oscar and Golden Boy, man? Such a fucking stupid ass. Something. Oscar's so stupid, man. Is Oscar probably making this decision? I don't even think this is Canelo. I think it's a fuck ass Oscar. You know, throwing shade at Eddie Hearn. Fuck you, Oscar. You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of the way. You know, you don't want to do business with Eddie Hearn. Fuck you, Oscar. Exactly. Fuck you. Yeah, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom have been making good fights. Alright? Everybody trying to spread all kinds of bullshit rumors about Eddie Hearn. You know? Fuck you. Fuck y'all. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom are making good fights. The only thing is, Eddie Hearn, you better manage that shit with Dillian White correctly. You better manage that shit with man, I just stuck there. Your welterweights, because I can't remember his name for nothing. Kell Brook, right there you go. You need to manage your shit with Kell Brook properly, and and James DeGale. You fuck James DeGale a real stink, man. You need to manage James DeGale properly. Them 3 fighters you're not managing right. All right, Kell Brook, you're not getting no fight for Kell Brook. Kell Brook wants Terrence Crawford. Make that fucking fight happen. Dillian White wants one of them top world champions to face. Make that fucking fight happen. And you had Anthony Joshua right there. This should have made that fucking fight happen. And then last but not least, James DeGale, which you left to dry. Who I don't even know if he's even with you anymore. But James DeGale, you left that motherfucker to dry. That motherfucker used to cross the seas and beating people's ass. And you fucked him up wrong. You treat James DeGale bad, in my opinion. Right? You should have been getting good fights for James DeGale. And you was not getting good fights for James DeGale. And you was not backing him in his corner. Right? And James DeGale was a fucking good fighter. Chris Eubank Jr. shouldn't have beaten James DeGale. You should have had that thing properly done. Anyways, what it is. James DeGale is a good fighter, though. So, yeah. Oscar need to do business with Matchroom. and make that fucking Demetrius Andrade fight happen. I don't want to hear shit about Demetrius Andrade. Andrade didn't earn it because he earned it. He earned it. He defended his title 2 times now. Faced Solanke, beat his ass. He need to get a Canelo fight. All right, he's next. At least DAZN is unifying 140 with Ramirez and Hooker. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm talking about middleweight. I mean, yeah. They get DAZN puts on good fights. They put on good fucking fights. I love it. That's why I'm going to subscribe to them. But at the same time, don't fuck up that middleweight division. I don't want to hear no shit about Canelo ain't having no fight in September. Unless he's injured, I don't want to hear it. And I don't give a fuck about Oscar De La Hoya either like that. Because Oscar makes some real fuck ass decisions sometimes. And fucks his own self in the ass. You know what I'm saying? And Oscar right now, he's doing a number on himself and on Canelo. He better make that fucking Demetrius Andrade fight. If Canelo wants it, Canelo should take it. And I don't understand why Canelo's ducking. He don't even want to mention Demetrius Andrade. That says something. If you ain't even mentioning the dude, what's up with that? Don't tell me he's a boring fighter. Because I don't buy that bullshit. Alright? He had good fights with Danny Jacobs. He had good fights with GGG. Now it's time to face Demetrius Andrade. It's a different kind of fighter. Let's see what you can do against him. Right? It's not a gimme that he wins against Demetrius Andrade. Either. Right? It's not a gimme. That's why I like the fight. So let's see it. You know? And the fight fans, you know, Troy King, if you out there, Troy King, you need to demand that Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade fight. All you Canelo fans who really Canelo fans, the real Canelo fans, not the fanboys who just brainwash and want to defend Canelo and don't want to see this fight and don't want to see. I want the real fanboys who understand boxing and shit to push for that Demetrius Andrade fight. Because that's a good ass fight. That's a great fight. That's a DAZN fight. That's the fight we want to see. After that, you can have the Gennady Golovkin fight. You don't have to face Jamal Charlo. I'm going to tell you why you don't need to face Jamal Charlo. Because Jamal Charlo, even though he put himself in a position to face Canelo, he's still green. He just won a world title. Demetrius Andrade defended his title twice. He's an experienced world champion. Acclimatized to 160. Looks like he's 160 pounder now. He ready for Canelo. So let's see it. Alright? Charlo still got some growing up to do in the division, I think. Could Korobov be giving him problems? I hearing that they want to have Dmitry Derevyanchenko face him. That's a good ass fight to mature him some more. So Solanke already faced Demetrius Andrade. Andrade passed that test. So it's time for Andrade to face Canelo. It's time. He can't get more prepared than he is already. So let him face Canelo. Let him face Canelo. This is his fight. This is the fight for him to face now. They all said that he looked good against Solanke. So if he was good against Solanke, let him face fucking Canelo. And don't tell me he got foot problems too. You know what I'm saying? So let's just go. Let's get it going. It's go time. Oh, it's almost 2 o'clock in the day. I need to get going. It rained and stuff. It's cloudy. It's overcast. I need to eat something. I haven't eaten nothing since the morning, so my stomach's going to really affect me later on in the day. I got to do some ab work and all that shit, but I got to drink too. So anyway, the short version of it is this. All right, Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade. That's what we want to see. Okay. This upcoming fight card, we got Caleb Plant versus Mike Lee. That should be a good ass fight. Hopefully, Caleb Plant comes out the victor. And of course, Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. Looking forward to that with licked lips. Like how Pacquiao's looking. You know, Keith Thurman's very confident. I like that. So let's see what can happen. Let's see what can happen in that fight. Thurman's talking about that T-Rex arms all the time, which means, and Thurman even talked about expecting Pacquiao to bring the pain and expecting to get hit by Pacquiao. So it sounds really good. I like what I'm hearing. John Molina versus Sergey Lipinets. That's not a competitive fight at all. Now Molina put himself in the position. No, he didn't. Actually, he lost his last fight to what's the kid's name? John Molina is not facing Sergey Lipinets. Actually, it's facing shit. What's the guy's name? Forgot the guy's name. Hold on a second. Let me pull it up. Hold on a second, all right. There you go. Sergey Lipnitz. Teofimo Lopez is fighting over this weekend for the qualifier. What? Sergey Lipnitz is facing John Molina Jr.? I thought he was facing the guy that beat John Molina Jr. I thought he was facing Omar Figueroa. Ugas. Okay, Ugas is facing Figueroa. On the zone, right? Oh. Alright. Cool. Okay. Ugas is facing, okay. That's going to be a good ass fight. Ugas versus Figueroa. That's the one I'm looking for. Sergey Lipnitz versus John Molina is going to be, Lipnitz going to beat his ass. So, Sergey Lipnitz is going to beat John Molina's ass, man. Yeah, I know James DeGale is shot, but I don't like how Matchroom treated him. That's what I'm saying, you know? I'm just saying, Matchroom treated DeGale bad. I didn't like what they did, man. Canelo Andrade is cool. I just wanted Undisputed Rally regardless. That's the fight, man. That's the fight I want to see. That's the fucking fight I want to see. And Canelo said at the end of this year he was going to be Undisputed Champion, right? He was shooting for that. So, Ugas Figueroa, that's the fight I want to see. I know Ugas looks like he's going to beat Figueroa. Luis Neri versus Juan Carlos Payano. I got, I don't know who I got for that one. Neri looks good in his last couple fights. Payano got knocked out by Inoue, so I don't know. Unapologetically Aboriginal. Shout out to you, man. Ugas beat Porter plus a knockdown. Okay. So that's why Ugas versus Figueroa should be a good fight. Figueroa likes to mix it up. Ugas love inside fighting, so we will see what happens with that. Anyway, guys, I gotta go eat. Otherwise, I'll mash up my stomach. Unapologetically Aboriginal. Shout out to you, Jackson the Hopeful. Shout out to you. Get this smoke, my dude. We gotta talk again, man. I got shout out to you, AJATX. Shout out to you. Big shout out to Nopal Boxelanos. You're the one that told me no Canelo in September. I couldn't believe that shit. I hope not. Shout out to Poobie Sistrunk. All you guys, man. It's great. This is just a tribute to Sweet P, Pernell Whitaker. Shout out to him. It's his family. Pernell Whitaker's dead. I can't shout out to him. But shout out to Pernell Whitaker's family. At this time, it's going to be hard for them because it was such a sudden death of their father or uncle, spouse. That's fucked up, though. Get the smoke, yeah. I'm gonna eat something because I didn't eat since this morning. I should have eaten something. I didn't eat nothing. So yeah, guys, you have a good one. Peace to you guys. Hopefully I can be in a chat with Tommy Temper again. I won't be talking that much. I was on Powerful Pound Boxing Report for a brief moment in time, and they were giving a tribute to Pernell Whitaker. They'll be talking more boxing this week, probably this afternoon, tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time. They probably be talking more about that. But for me, I'm out of here. Peace to you guys. And, you know, Jackson Hopeful says, nah, I thought Porter beat Ugas. Ugas didn't do enough. Yeah, I agree. I thought Porter beat him. Porter was just fighting a different variation of himself. But, yeah, he basically, I thought he went in and out and did a pretty good job. He got tagged by Ugas a couple times, though. But I don't think enough, you know, for what he was doing to Ugas, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Yeah, so shout out to each and every one of you guys, man. I know you guys are boxing junkies because every single day you guys are here. And I'm a boxing junkie myself. Not getting to really train like I would like to these couple of days, but we're trying to put ourselves together. I'm gonna neaten up myself, shave up and stuff. I look like a caveman. I need to get back in order, everything. And trying not to curse and swear as much. Not just because it's not monetizable, but also because I'm supposed to be a Christian, so I am not behaving like that. So I'm trying to get myself back in order. Things kind of fell apart after my mom died, to be honest with you. I was all over the place doing all kinds of shit. And I'm just trying to pull myself back together. So you guys have a good one, man. Blessings.